everybody.
Hello.
What's
How
up?
how are y'all doing?
Hello.
Hey. Yeah, we got a little bit of background noise on. Let me see if I can. Y'all, once again, we are. Can y'all hear Colton? Colton, say something.
Hello, 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 hello.
Okay, it sounds okay
I can
to
hear.
me. Yeah, I don't know if y'all can hear though.
Sounds good.
Um, Thank y'all so much for being here. I'm sorry I'm late. I am never late, as y'all know. I'm never late. But we had technical difficulties. we changed we changed streaming apps, which is nothing to y'all, but it's a big deal to us. So we had to go on my channel again. Let me start by saying hello. Hi, Awatha. Samantha. Let me see. I've got I put a link down here to the actual channel. Where is it? Hello, Carol. Good to see you. Let me keep going here. Um Daniel Barry. Whoop whoop.
It's
Um
good to see all you guys here.
yeah.
It makes me so glad to know that there's someone to talk to before we start yapping.
Warning label Nina. Hello. Yeah, and I want to tell you, I am really excited about the topic tonight. Here is our actual when we get there, our YouTube channel. Again, changing apps. Uh I I ditched StreamYard again. We have such a crazy relationship, me and StreamYard, but I Evie Mux has made some changes that are superb. One of them being dark mode and a lot of other things. So I'm having to relearn it and connect it and all that stuff. I hope y'all come. We are going to be, I say this every week, we're going to be at the Humanetics next week. And I really hope y'all are there too. So, I haven't talked to Bungler or Colton much at all this past week.
True. Well, what's been going on with you?
We're going to have to change the days because beginning in October, I'm changing jobs. I'm going to be working evenings until something in the day comes open, or I might just stay with evenings. It's going to be a challenge, a challenging job. So,
Okay, well, I also got some things coming up, so we'll have to figure that out. Which day of the week we're gonna start doing it on?
yeah. I mean, I'm going to be good with daytimes. I'm going to be available during daytimes. So, if uh and if we can't do it during the day, then possibly we can record. I know I'm going to be recording a lot of stuff during the day for Silky Southern, but anyway, I'm excited about the topic tonight because we're continuing the series on human connection and maybe the lack of it. And so I found some crazy stuff. Did you know that last year the Surgeon General, like, this blew me away. The Surgeon General said that loneliness is the new epidemic. Agree, disagree?
Um, I don't know. I don't know if he's qualified to be a surgeon with that kind of. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I mean, it definitely sounds like it. Definitely seems like it. I think that people have been getting more and more distant from not just like their friends and stuff, but just like people in general. Like I think that loneliness is probably one of the biggest causes to things like depression, and then eventually leading more into anxiety. Like a feedback loop that it's like a endless vicious cycle that you cut yourself off because you feel anxious around folks, which makes you anxious around folks even more, and then feeling sad, down, depressed, apathetic, being separated from communities and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And how do you fix it? What's the kind of tough, tough to do?
Right. Right. Would you say, y'all, and let's take a poll. Y'all know I love these polls. I actually have a poll app, but I didn't set it up. How many, okay, do you have More or less friends, close friends, since 2020, since the big thing that we don't talk about here, since the big shutdown. More or less friends.
Me personally, I have the exact same amount of friends. I've had the same friends forever.
That's impressive. That's a hard thing to do.
Yes.
People really love cutting each other out. That whole like get rid of toxicity in your life and stop being friends with all your friends. And then you're like, okay, but now I'm sad and lonely, and they've already moved on. The person who told you that, like, they weren't going to be your friend. I have actually gained friends since 2020, but that was more or less through chance because for the years previous to that, I had essentially no friends, not good friends.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, and that's the difference, right? Like you can know people and be acquaintances, but like, what makes a good friend? And those are hard to find. Those are really tough. What about you?
Oh well.
Hello, Elena. Good to see ya. Good to
What about
see you.
what about you, Silky? Have you made new friends?
I have made, yes, of course I've made new friends. I've made a lot of new friends, but would I say close friends? Yes, one, maybe one close friend. Um I've lost some friends. Um but is the connection is the connection, I guess, the quality? Is it quality connections, or because you can have even kind of close relationships with your coworkers? I mean, you talk a lot. If you work with somebody like very closely, you end up talking about all kind of stuff. Would you all, is that a close friendship, or is that like,
Hmm, I don't know. That's interesting. I
So
would
I
assume that a friend would be there for you when other people wouldn't. For one, I feel like that's one good distinctive quality of a friend. They're probably willing to listen to you more than and help you more than they try to argue. Um, I don't know. What else do you guys think defines a good friend? Because I mean, we could be like how deep you talk or how much trauma you share together makes that's how deep your friendship is. But I don't think that's the case. Not at all.
haven't really
really?
thought about it a whole lot. Yeah, well, I don't agree, yeah, with that either, because like for example, one of the guys I work with, he is we've shared with each other our essentially our life story, and the thing is that like he doesn't have a lot of depth to him, and so when he talks about his life, it's like that's about as deep as it gets. But if I try to like to me, a good friend is someone who it doesn't matter like how crazy I get with like thinking about the nuances or the psychology of a situation or whatever. Even if they don't understand, I as a contrast, I have a friend who like will sit there and listen and try to understand what I'm saying and then talk because he's genuinely interested. I think other people are more like a surface level. A lot of people are just waiting for their turn to talk. You know.
Yeah, I mean, okay, but let me ask then this, because maybe there is a difference. I just thought of this. Maybe there is a difference in what we consider close connections. It's between male and female, like the male dynamic, because what you all are describing is you're saying, well, just because I can talk about all these things doesn't make them a good friend. Now, to me, as a female, I am very closed and I do not talk about my personal traumas and stuff like that to just anybody. In fact, I rarely say anything. So I'm thinking, if you are a friend, if you're male or female, and I'm talking about something very personal, then I consider you a very close friend. But y'all don't seem to. Is that just a male thing?
Well, I
Uh,
don't think that necessarily makes you a good friend just because I happen to know a couple people that just love to trauma dump on strangers.
yeah.
I'm
I do.
not talking
I
about that.
I like that, but not so much a trauma dump. But I do intentionally put people in situations where they're like, "Oh, I wasn't ready to talk or think about this," and they'll. But I'm not mean about it either. I get them to talk. It's just, but I don't think the depth of the conversation is like equivalent to how good a friend they are or how close you feel to that
Yeah, I
person.
don't think so either.
Really?
I would say yeah, they got to be trustworthy. Loyalty, I feel like it's a big one. Um, like communication, obviously. Just having respect and support for each other too. But I think loyalty is what builds a good relationship. I think that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. But I mean, I guess it's the difference is I don't. You're calling it trauma dump. I don't trauma dump on people that I already don't have. I have to have a close connection. I have to already trust you before I trauma dump on you.
Okay, so I guess everybody has their own levels. I mean, there are some people, yeah, that are super closed off, and you have to get really close with them to find out these kind of things. But um, so I don't know that that's a good indicating factor of a good friend. Um, Maybe it is different between men and women too, but I think in general, like there's been a big epidemic for men feeling like they can't talk about their problems, right? Like they feel unheard. So
Yeah,
that
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, and I've tried it. You know, I think the thing is that a lot of folks, and like I've tried it in like a normal like context, and just naturally bringing things up. But I think as much as guys don't feel like they're comfortable or can do it, can share their problems or even like emotions. A lot
right.
of them don't even know how to begin to do such a thing either. Like if that topic comes up, it's been so rare that they've had that chance to talk about that kind of thing that they kind of freeze up sometimes or don't really know how to feel awkward, all that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I'm looking at the comments, and people are talking about fair weather friends, and not the trust factor. I think that's the biggest thing for me when it comes to who I determine as a good friend is trust factor. Um, and that takes time. So I mean, I don't know. I don't know if people. So a lot of people have we have the friends that we have online. And I'm not saying you can't make close connections. You absolutely can. You can really care about somebody, but it's not the same. Okay? I can pour my heart out to somebody, whether through an email or through a live or one-on-one conversation, phone call, whatever, but it's not the same as when I turn out these lights and I walk out of the studio and I sit down on the couch and there's nobody there, you know, that I can say, "Hey, you want me to fix a pot of coffee?" It's not that it's not the same. And I think that is what with all of the stuff that we are looking at, and the AI and all these different we're still not connecting. Why are we not connecting?
What with AI? No,
No.
I was gonna ask a question. What do you think? If okay, say you're in a dire situation, either you're like stranded at sea or the world is ending or something. Um, do you think that you would prefer to have friends? Well, just okay. I don't even know how to ask the question. How good of a friendship with someone that you are not similar to do you think that you could eventually develop if you were trapped with them for months or years? You
well,
know.
Oh.
you certainly find that you're a lot more similar than you would think.
Mhm.
I mean, people that are extremely like I don't know, say racist or something, say white supremacists who hate black people. If they were locked in a room with a black person for or a cell in prison or something for a while, they'd figure out after a while that they are both human. Like they're not.
You're right.
There's a lot more similarity in people than they
I
think.
like that you led. You said that. Oh, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off. My bad.
No, that's it.
I just like that you led. You think you'd be a lot. You find out you're a lot more similar than you think. Take for example, you're talking to someone who's really racist. I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. But
Yeah. I mean, it's true though. I mean, I have certainly learned because here's my big flaw. and this is probably why I'm single. Um, it's because I a lot of times measure somebody, up really fast. Like I determine who they are within, you know, in the dating world, whatever. Within 15 minutes, I know. And I I have wondered because there's a lot of people I've gotten to know because I had to, not because not in a dating, not romantically, but you're working with somebody and you start a new job and your desk is right across from somebody and you talk to them for 5 minutes and you realize you have nothing in common and you're like, oh my god, I got to look at this goober for 8 hours every day. And you're like, Jesus, take the wheel. But you find that after months pass and even just the small conversations that you have, a lot of times I do find that I have far more in common with people than I think I do. And so are we missing out of relationships? I mean, I think sometimes we are, friendships, whatever.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think the depth that we're able to go to, like digitally, is really limited because, there's not really any. I mean, you can be like overtly awkward, but there's not really any like awkwardness, like of a like a silence or a pause. Like there's so much that happens when you're talking to somebody and it's just you and that person face to face that as a, as opposed to like like in Discord, like a Discord call. I keep thinking of Discord because that's like the seems like the biggest place where like people hang out in groups. If you got to get up, you can just like mute yourself, or if you're talking to somebody, you can you can even edit your replies and text and stuff. But just have a straightforward conversation with somebody. And
Yeah,
even if you were like, even if you had the camera and the sound and you didn't mute and everything like that, it's still different, like a lot more different than just
it
having someone
is.
in the
yeah.
room with you.
I also feel like in ways, I don't even know how you would, what kind of connection you would call it, but sometimes it's almost like with people being autonomous on the internet, there comes a lot of trolls, and people who are not afraid to say just ridiculous things because they know that they're hidden behind the internet. Well, the same things comes with like people have certain connections with people that they're able to like open up over the internet to someone they've met maybe through like a video game or something. They've been friends for a while and they can open up about something because they don't feel like the judgment that they would feel from like people, like because you can
Yeah.
essentially delete them if they try to bring it up later to harm you or something. You can just block them, but you can't do that with your family. And a lot of people. Oh, that's just an example.
You can
I
certainly
think it was.
try. Uh,
You can try.
No, I mean, no, you're right. And to me, that speaks of like, different levels, I guess. Someone who meets somebody through a game or acquaintance or like, eventually builds up confidence to have a better relationship with that person. Um, that's a step that's almost the same size as like, knowing somebody and talking to them and then meeting them in real life and being a friend. It's like same size step, but for like different stages. But I think I mean, I don't know. I think that it has benefits, uh, but it also can be really artificial. Talking to somebody exclusively digitally, because you can really control what is happening the whole time, and that's kind of the fun of a in person relationship is that you're both going to be awkward, and you're both going to, if you hang out long enough, there's going to be a day where one of you both smells weird, and you say something stupid, and the other person catches it. There's just like a lot of nuance, I think, to like gathering with people, and it also inspires you to be a better person because you know that if you're going to see that person, you don't want to smell bad a second time because then they'll mock you very ruthlessly. You know, so
I don't want to smell bad the first time, but I
well,
guess it happens.
sometimes you never know until it's too late. That's just
I
I thought
don't
that was just the way my house smelled. I'm sorry.
know. Okay, I'm gonna switch this to um the article that talks. There's so many things. There's when I started looking at human connection. Where did Colton go?
Oh, that's I'll just keep talking. I'll fix it. There he is.
Okay, let's. Yeah, I don't know why
Yeah,
he
I
didn't.
can't see you guys, so it's fine.
Uh, wait. Let me get rid of this other one. We've got two Coltons is the problem. I don't know if you would keep
I
working
got you.
on it. Okay,
I
yeah.
got you.
All right, I'm gonna share um this article because it's really this is the one that the Surgeon General that talks about the Surgeon General. I'm gonna have to make this bigger for a second. Can you see us now, Colton?
In tiny boxes, I'm fine. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So, all right, let's go back to the top. Okay, the impact of human connection on your health. Okay.
And is this a professional opinion? Like, someone that's not just me
Yes.
guessing?
Yes. This is the well.
That's good for
Let's
all of
see.
us.
Let's see. Jesse Zucker. Who is Jesse? Let me see if I can click on this.
I'll find it. I'll Google it. You don't.
Oh
Okay.
wait.
Okay.
Oh wait.
There you go.
He's just this guy that wrote this is just a writer. Okay. Okay. Well, we're good. All right. You can still see the article though, right?
Yeah.
Um. Okay, so this came out in February of this year, and they were talking about the winter months, and people isolate more, of course. Now, we're coming up on the seasonal, depression thing because people are going to get through, people are happy that it's especially here in the South, we get all excited when it's pumpkin spice season, and we get some cool air and we all run around like chickens in our little boots and sweaters, and we go to the pumpkin patch and we go to the house haunted houses, and then it's Thanksgiving and Christmas. But then after Christmas, after New Year's, like boom, it is the and I'm not a depressed person, but I will say I dread winter every single year because I hate it. I just hate winter. It is very isolating. So they were talking about that earlier this year. Okay, but right here it says the loneliness epidemic. Let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger for y'all. Okay, on May 3rd, 2023, the U.S. Surgeon General declared loneliness and isolation a public health issue. Now, this is before the monkeypox, okay? Public health issue. People already spent too much time alone before the pandemic. Of course, with remote work and socializing from home, it took away even more valuable time we used to spend connecting with others. Now, so they are comparing the lifestyles and the health data back to the 1960s, but they're talking about something emotional loneliness versus social isolation, and I'm like, okay, I think we kind of just lop it in together, but it's not. Because you can have emotional loneliness, and when they said this, I'm like, oh yeah, I've been there, done that. Emotional loneliness is the feeling of being lonely or alone, which can happen even when you are with someone else. That is so true. Social isolation is literally being without a social network connection, circle of people for support, etc., etc. So I would say that for me, the loneliest I have ever been in my whole life is when I was married. And that is sad.
It's because I don't know if you guys remember Robin Williams, um, one of the funniest men to ever exist, just full of joy,
Hmm.
whatever. Tragically, took his own uh, life. Sorry, I don't know if YouTube will. I don't know
Yeah.
how that works. From depression, and one of the quotes that he's attributed with the most is, "I used to think the worst thing in life is to end up all alone. It's not. The worst thing in life is to end up with people who make you feel alone."
Yes. 100%.
And
Well,
I think to some degree we can all relate to that. I think we've all had a friend that was our only lifeline, and even when you were face to face with them and talking to them, you would still feel a big distance between the two of you. That's got to be the worst feeling. It almost makes you feel like there's something wrong with you, you know, that
Yeah.
you can't make a real stable connection with the. But anyway,
Well, yeah, and what's worse about being lonely when you're married is because when you're single, there's always hope. You're always thinking, "Oh, well, I could meet somebody." You know, tomorrow could change everything. Today, any one instant can change my whole life, and you have hope that at some point you won't be lonely. But when you are married to somebody and you are like not just on a different page, like you're planets apart, there is no there's no hope because you're not thinking, "Oh, well, I don't connect with you and so I'm going to get a divorce." No, you're like, "I'm stuck and now I'm lonely and I'm lonelier because I have no hope." And I
yeah,
kind of wonder if even unmarried people come to that place of, not feeling like they will ever connect with someone, you know?
yeah. Um, I have never been married. I have had the opportunity a few times, but I don't think I'm comfortable going through with anything unless I know that I'm gonna be at least heard, even if not understood. You know, there'd be something that we could do
Right.
to, you know, closen the gap together. Um,
Well, it
but so I
takes
don't know.
two. It takes both parties.
True,
Um,
true.
but so, they're saying, let me go back to where I can see this. So they're talking about emotional loneliness, and, the statistics are, of course, the older you are, the more emotionally lonely that you feel. And if you are, it says over 65, they feel more socially isolated. And I guess that's because they retire and stay at home. Um,
A
but
lot of people
even,
can't stand that either. My grandfather
yeah,
was one of them. He retired and then like it felt like a week later he just started to go work at Walmart because he could not stand to just you know be around the house. Once he finished all of his projects or whatever, he just started going back and he just kept going and going until everyone was like, "You have to stop coming
yeah,
here."
yeah. Well,
So
I mean, that's true. But I will tell you this too, for those who retire and just, you're like, kind of, I'm just going to kick back because, I've worked really hard my whole life. So here we go. And I have seen so many people get serious illnesses and pass away, honestly, very shortly after retirement. And they're only like in their mid 60s. And it's crazy. Um, wow.
you think that that is to do with loneliness, or do you think that that might be some other? I think first of all, I guess we have to say that do we think that your mental state can make you more or less likely or more susceptible to illness? Show of hands.
Absolutely.
Colton, what do you think?
Wait, what was the question again?
Do you think that being mentally unwell or at least not uh, content or whatever, like mental issues can raise your susceptibility to illness, like the flu and stuff or whatever, developing like
You
body
think
issues
mental
and whatnot?
illness makes it more likely to develop like
If
a
you're sad, are you going to get sick easier? Is what I'm asking, basically. Or if you're
um
lonely, or
mm, I don't know about that. That I'd have to see some like hard statistics to, or I don't know, because that just doesn't like how does your emotions? I don't know. I'd have to see how your emotions tie into your immune system, kind of thing.
Very much, very much. Let me just tell you, for being a nurse, I can. I mean, certainly don't know everything, but it very, very definitely does. So look at this. It says how it works. Research explains how loneliness and isolation have a direct impact on your health. When a person is socially isolated, the brain perceives this as a threat. Like what? My house is going to attack me? I don't know. What? I okay. I'm actually not that way, but um, the more HPA axis activity sends stress hormones throughout your body, restricting your blood flow, harming your vascular system and increasing inflammation.
Hmm.
Oh, what do you know? They're the stats you were looking for right there.
Mm-hmm.
Would have never guessed actually.
Yeah.
Really? I feel like it's an intuitive thing to guess. Like it's
I
intuitive
mean,
to kind of.
I don't know. I could make that guess, but I don't like to make guesses. That's just
I mean,
I don't
that's
like.
fair. I just I was just thinking, if you had to make a guess, what do you think? Do you think that it was more or less likely? You
I
know,
don't know. It's just so dependent on the mental illness and the actual disease. It's like, does being lonely make it more likely to get rectal cancer? I don't
I,
know.
I mean,
Probably
I
not.
mean, I may not say there's like a direct correlation between that, but like I think that it certainly would weaken your. I mean, yeah, especially with how delicate your brain or your biochemical structure is. Like it's very sensitive, and I think your emotions can actually alter that pretty well. And I think that that's what this is talking about. That, which I mean, see, I'm trying to look and see. It says loneliness is what they're talking about here, but I wonder, if that's just loneliness or being unfulfilled. I wonder how far that actually goes into like, some people like who are mourning or grieving or whatever. Maybe that's
Oh,
even
yeah.
different. Maybe the more intense the emotion, the more resistant you are to disease, or maybe the more prolonged and drawn out the whole thing has been. There's just a lot of different angles to it, I reckon.
Well, this is just personal to me, okay? But I can tell you that when I am emotionally stressed, whether it's with grief or whether it's with anxiety or frustration, and like my heart is hurt, um I get sick every single time. I have no resistance to things that I normally would, you know? And this certainly happened to me just a couple of weeks ago, which I'm still getting over. Um, I had a situation. This is not the first time it is in this job, but not in other, I've had this happen before. So I'm kind of going on history. But I had a situation a couple of weeks ago at work that I found really heartbreaking. Okay. It disturbed me so much, and it wasn't like probably what people would think it is. It felt more personal, and I got very offended, and it hurt my heart because people did things that never had before, and these were my work buddies.
And they broke your trust.
Yes, they did, and it hurt my heart so bad, and I was thinking, "Okay, if this is gonna be the way it is, then clearly I cannot stay here." And so I was thinking about that, and, the stress of, finding another job. What do I wanna do? I like the job I have, you know, but now I can't see past. I'm not gonna get over what happened. It's not I know me, I'm not gonna get over it. It's always going to be in the back of my head. And so, I'm in so much emotional turmoil that I very quickly got some god awful virus that everybody else has gotten over, but I am still sick. Not as bad. And, it just, the problem compounded and got worse and worse. And the worse the problem got, the sicker I got. So now, I mean, I'm resolving that, but I can tell you this has happened in numerous jobs. When I have a situation, it immediately takes physical form. Does anybody else have that, or am I just really, really weird?
Do you think that? Which my camera keeps going out or something? I'll have to fix that in a second. But do you think that you experience emotions so grave that your body just accepts it as a sign of illness and puts you into a shutdown state, and you have to like recover and all that? Or do you think that it's like you get genuinely ill, or that bacteria or whatever come and start attacking you?
Well, I feel like my white blood cell count, whatever. I feel like my immune system, when I'm happy, I can tell you 100% when I'm happy, I can do things that I can't do on a regular basis. I can go longer hours. I can control bodily things that are very foreign. Like it doesn't happen every day when I'm happy. When I am sad, and if it's a transient thing, like something bad happened, you're like, oh my God, that's horrible. There's grief and that kind of stuff. But when it hurts, the difference is this hurt my soul. And when you hurt my soul, I do. And I have for years gotten physically sick.
Hmm.
And I just think there's no resistance. There's no it's like my force field is down, you know?
Sure.
Well, so I guess that wouldn't be maybe a correlation between mental illness and your health problems, but maybe your emotions dictating those things. So, how much do you think that plays a role in it? And what about people that are nobody's emotionless, but there are clearly people that are much more emotional than others.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, and just even in different times too. But how much do you think it plays into it?
I can say personally, it plays a lot. And I was going to say, we're going to look at some more statistics. I'm looking at the chat right now. Um, Elena says, I went through a heartbreak 6 years ago, the worst I've ever had, and it changed my health. Yeah. Uh, I've gone through that where, um, and now it wasn't, it wasn't permanent heartbreaks that, but definitely have gotten sick. Samantha says fibromyalgia reacts to stress and strong negative emotions. 1000%. I think I developed, which it rarely bothers me very much now, but I developed that years ago when I worked at the hospital. There were some really, really stressful things. And that's when I first started having symptoms. But I usually, I think it's a lot of, it has to do with vibration. I usually vibrate at a high level. I'm usually a happy person, so I don't get, you know, I don't have that problem as much.
Well, vibration patterns aside, or whatever that is supposed to mean. Uh,
We
what do you
all
think?
vibrate. We're all vibrating.
I don't ever feel it, but I'm, I feel pretty still. Um, I, anyway, you're gonna get me off on a tangent. I was gonna ask. So with everyone being a lot more lonely, like a lot people having a lot, like a lot of folks have at least somebody to go to, right? A lot of people are married in like decent relationships, or they have like a good friend or whatever. But what do you think overall loneliness, like as far as lack of community, lack of like if that person, if that one lifeline you has is the one who hurt you, then what do you do? You just, I
Exactly.
guess I'll
Well,
just wait it out.
I
But
have a
if you had
question
like,
for you.
go
Oh,
ahead,
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
you're fine.
How much of like okay, how much are you able to even have a connection with other people if you don't have any connection with yourself, right? If you're not self-aware. So if you build all these relationships, people that have like tons and tons of friends are never ever alone. They prefer it that way. How much do you think that connection is real, and is it possible to have if you don't have like a self-love or whatever or
Well,
personal connection?
there are a lot of different factors for that. I think a lot of people tie their identity into the community that they've built, which is highly dangerous. But like look at like which I'm not trying to poke fun at anyone in particular, but one group that comes to mind is like church groups. A lot of the times, like
Hmm.
a lot of the older women who are married to like the friend of the pastor or the pastor or whoever, whatever. It's like a lot for especially the bigger the church is, the more it seems like they are devoid of any personality outside of the people that they know and talk to and hang out with. You know what I mean? And that's bizarre. And if that whole thing comes crashing down, they might have a come apart. So that's part
Well,
of it.
yeah. That's why
But
people have church trauma a lot of times. It's a real thing.
yeah, which if you take that example and like some people may not be able to relate to it, but if you have ever met that type of person, you can see how important community can be to somebody. and how important at least it should be to some degree for all of us. But I think that outside of church settings, that a lot of people don't ever get to experience any form of real community. And even in church groups, really, it's hard to find real honest to God community. But that's kind of the thing, it's like there are some places where, depending on where you live or how your street's laid out, you and your neighbors can be really. I saw a video. I mean, I don't mean to go on a tangent. I was trying to be quick, but I saw a video the other day. A newborn child or mother had just given birth one night, was coming into her house, and then like there were just like super cuts for the next like 4 or 5 days where like their neighbors would just bring them stuff or come stop by and say, hey, like bring them like diapers and food. Like there were stories in the comments with like old people who were retired. They would like mow their lawn for them and not even ask. They would just do it, and like that's a form of community, even if it's weird. To me,
Yes.
that's bizarre. That like my neighbors like, please don't come into my house, please, but that's still a sense of community.
Hey, let
Even
me
if
tell you. Yes, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off either. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, based off of location alone, I feel like that's a strange way to build a community, But
Yeah, but I'm going to tell you two things that are just crazy. Well, you were with me on one of them. I have to say this, Daniel Price, you are killing me. You're killing me. I can see some self-help author turning that into a book. Human Vibrations, Finding the G-Spot for Your Soul. You're killing me. And you know what? I might actually buy that, Daniel. Like,
oh
yes,
Jesus,
does my soul have one of those? I don't know. Maybe that
dude.
you're killing me. I love it.
Oh God.
I love it.
You could have went without ever reading that.
Hello, Hunting Georgia. Thank you. I I mean, it's talking about the soul. You know that little that. Oh, okay, y'all are uncomfortable. So we're talking about community, and look, this is unique to the South, I think. Um, but okay, for example, you're talking about just the neighbors bringing stuff, and that is very much a Southern thing. Like in deaths, births, all this kind of stuff, you're gonna get lots of help. But the other day, I was taking my daughter and her boyfriend. We were going through Taco Bell. And so when we ordered online, when we got there, the drive-through line was like all the way to the street. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. So we parked and they walked in to pick up the order. So I stayed in the car. I've got the windows down. It was a nice breezy night. And I see this van pull up beside me, or this SUV. And this guy gets out and, he goes into the restaurant. He comes back out. His window's open, my window's open. And I don't know, he makes some comment about the line. He said it's better to go in. And I'm like, yeah, that's why, my kids just went in. We start talking. And so he starts telling me, we discussed his wife, his kids, DoorDash, the price of food. I mean, like he comes out with this huge bag of Taco Bell. Like I know his family's at home waiting for him. And he's telling me where his wife works and how much DoorDash is just to go across the street. Like we're in a full-blown conversation. And so my daughter and them, they come back, they get in the car. And so, as soon as they come back, he's like, okay, well, it was good talking to you. I'm like, yeah, good talking to you too. And, he drives off. No problem. And she's like, assuming that I know him, she says, well, who was that? I said, I have no idea. Rank stranger. I don't even know his name. But we talked for like 10 minutes.
You know what's cool about that is that that's a genuine story. I think that's like a very genuine interaction. But if you posted that story on Reddit, everyone would be like, that man was going to cheat on his wife and traffic you and all this other stuff, because I don't,
No.
and I think that's another sentiment that is like difficult, is that like everyone is like, I don't know, everyone has been sensationalized to the degree where like if there's ever a situation, you're supposed to immediately assume and prepare for the worst. But like, I mean, what were the odds that he had like an ulterior motive to talking to you about all this stuff, or that he was simply living his life and enjoying that this whole thing came up? they think people are very afraid of each other too, which is really cool. That like in some places, like well, I guess the South people are less afraid, you know. Or we mentioned last week that people in Oregon will get to know each other like in a community or whatever so well that they still do the thing where they just go to your house at like any time of the day.
Right.
And
Right.
I just that's so weird. It's strange to me, but like I would love to have friends like that. You know, hear a knock on the door and be like, and be excited to see somebody. You know, but I think there are a lot of people that you're like you meet, you're like, oh man, I'm really not excited to see this person. I'm going to be stuck talking to them for like 20, 30 minutes. You know, sometimes there are
Yeah.
people who don't, they, you know, they, now, sometimes people overshare. Sometimes people don't understand, like they can't read like a room, you know, and you're like, I was just chilling and you're telling me, you know, that you're, or whatever. I don't know. I don't know. But, you know, I think that's still really cool, the idea. And it's unfamiliar to me.
But it's like I told my daughter, this is such a southern thing, southern culture. Like I have talked to people in the store about for a long time about random stuff. Now, I just want to say this. Daniel says, tell that to the United Nations. Sponsored by Taco Bell, bringing world peace one chalupa at a time.
Dude, if I would, listen, if my, if I were paid in a chalupa and all that I had to pay for it was just to talk to somebody for a few minutes, I would absolutely make some more friends.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
But okay, now think about this. Okay, this has happened twice in 1 week. Okay, first we have Taco Bell guy, very nice guy, you know. Honest to God, I didn't get any weird vibes like, he was going to traffic me or he was looking at me any kind of way. We were just two people talking because that is Alabama. And so if you remember the other day, Bungler, we were in a grocery store parking lot and I'm talking about I need to wash my car. And it's a you me conversation, nobody else. A woman is walking by and she butts in on the conversation. She's not trying to be rude. She's like, I just overheard y'all talking and I just wanted to let you know the nearest car wash is blah blah blah. And she told me exactly what it was and we talked about the price of a car wash and all kind of stuff. Remember that conversation?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, because you ended up helping me clean my car.
I was so
But
inspired by her willingness to talk to you that I was like, you know what? I'll be the one to help, you know. But yeah, it was wild. She just you were just talking out loud, which is something I actually ironically you were thinking out loud, which is I criticized you earlier that day
hmm
because we went to a store and you were just like looking at all the options and you were like, you know, mulling them over, you know, rolling them around, but verbally to everyone.
yes.
And I'm like, and I'm just sitting there. I'm trying to think about what I want, and your thoughts are like just drilling into my brain. I'm like, I guess I want this. Is that how she feels? You know. So I was like, do you just talk constantly when you're out? She's like, oh, I was talking to you, and I was like, at what point? You know. But yeah, you were doing a little bit of that, and this woman, she's like, I just overheard y'all. Sorry. You know, this is where yada yada. I'm like, that's crazy. You know, she was an older woman too, though. So you know, I don't. There's like you know, I don't think teenager would be like, you know, some are some are. I don't know.
How
I
did
didn't
I
mean it.
post?
That was me. I
Oh,
I'm
okay.
used to
Okay.
StreamYard because I'm logged in as me, but because so yeah, that's my bad.
That's weird. It should
Yeah, I'll
still
fix that
okay.
later.
Oh no, that's all right. I was just like, I did not type that. Okay. I'm like, okay, yeah, I got a ghost at the
Have
keyboard.
you seen that movie by the way? Idiocracy.
And parts of it was just too stupid.
So that's the thing, and I don't mean to like derail the conversation, but my God, that movie is like thousands of years into the future, dumb people procreate a lot faster than more intelligent people, essentially, and society kind of collapses, and it's just really, really like it's supposed to be like a hyperbole or something, but like every day. You have to watch the movie because I swear it's becoming a documentary. Like this is actually the world we live in right now.
Yeah, I mean, I heard people say that when it came out, and I tried to watch it, and I was like, my brain cells were dying
Wait, what
watching it.
what was it called?
Idiocracy.
Idiocracy. I think I've
No.
heard of that. I haven't watched it.
Yeah. But I mean, but going back to community, I think there's probably less of a problem of that in the South. And yes, that was the second time in a week that I have just been randomly out and thought, you know what? I love Alabama. I love Alabama. Yes, we have our problems for sure, but there is still in this state, in our area anyway, still that sense of community that, you know, it's like the time I was in Walmart and I was just considering gelato. Like, I was literally just looking at it, thinking to myself, I have never tried gelato. Is it good? Is it better than ice cream? And this guy comes walking up to me and he starts talking about he's Italian. You might remember this story, Josiah. Um, but he starts saying, he's Italian and this gelato is never going to be as good as it is in Italy, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, we're having a fine old conversation. And then he tells me he's a movie producer. And I'm like, what? And he says, yeah. And I'm like, I think he's full of it. And he's like, no, 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 get your phone. He said, pull it out. So he says, pull up I am, what is that? I am
IMDb.
DB. Yeah, I couldn't remember the initial. IMDb. And I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. I mean, boom, there's his picture, and there he is. And I'm like, huh, well, what do you know about that? All
It didn't
because I was
say.
looking at.
It didn't say adult film producer.
No, 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 no. But it's funny because I'm like, I'm just in Walmart looking at gelato, but this is Alabama, so somebody is gonna. So we text back and forth for I don't know a little while. Every once in a while, we'd text each other and say, "Hey, what you doing?" It was never anything more than that, but I will never forget that encounter. It's like you really just think you're going to Walmart, but this is the kind of stuff, and I think bottom line is I think it's important, and I know you probably can't do this in a lot of places because like people don't have that culture, but it's important for connection. Sometimes we're way more connected than I want to be. I'm like, I just really want to get in and out, you know. But
I think that just speaks to the difference of like, the kind of people we are. Because I never run into that ever when I'm in public. And it's not even that I'm not like willing to do it, but I've seen the way that you interact with people. And it's a lot more different. Like I'm just so much more intense, and you're a lot more like bubbly, a lot more.
Yeah. That's for sure.
effervescent.
That's I don't know if that's the right word at all, but
It means bubbly. Okay, let me go back though, because we're gonna look. That was a fun little excursion. Um, all right, so we're talking about the physical and mental health risks. Okay, the acute symptoms. Okay, these are the immediate symptoms that you have when you are dealing with loneliness and isolation. Cold. Oh, see, I didn't even read this yet. Cold, flu. Well, there you go. That explains my headaches, muscle aches, and sleeping too much or too little. Well, that was from the Mayo Clinic, by the way. That is exactly what I have been doing the last 2 weeks. But the long term risks are this is of poor, doesn't mean none, poor or insufficient connection. Y'all, this ought to make you run out and be connected to somebody somehow. I mean, not in the wrong. That's so bad.
Hey,
Just never mind.
be my friend. Be my friend. I'm sick. Be friends with me. I have a cold.
That's yeah. That'll get you some friends. Hey, I'm contagious. Please love me. Okay, a 29% increased risk of heart disease, a 32% I'm torn up. Risk of stroke, a 50% increased risk of dementia. 50%, a 60% increased risk of premature death.
So
Well,
those last two are a lot more. I mean, to me, they draw very straightforward parallels where, like, especially in the case of premature death, Um, poor or insufficient connection, I would say, uh, meaning that like if you fall or if you're in danger or something like that, you have a lot less chance of having someone be able to come to your aid. And dementia, I don't think a lot of people don't really understand it. As far as like, but I think that having a lot less interaction with people causes your brain to almost say that those areas aren't as needed as other, especially as you get older, because your body and your brain, they try to save energy and stuff like that. And as you get older and you're around people a lot less, I would say that reduced brain activity is probably what helps lead to dementia. And I think that
Yeah.
social interaction is so intensive, I think, for your brain. Just not just like seeing somebody, but like interacting, hosting if they're at your house, getting them, making sure they're comfortable, something, getting ready for them to show up, cleaning, making sure everything looks nice and to set up, and then
Yeah.
all that stuff. There's just a lot of things that you have to be aware of, and I think that if you don't end up having visitors or whatever for a long period of time, that you may just start to lose touch. I don't know. Dementia is really sad, though.
Yeah.
It really is. But I mean, you're looking at all of these huge risk factors for health. And yet, it seems like to me that society is making it harder to connect. You know what I'm saying? We have way more avenues, and we talked about this last week, of ways to connect, but yet we're actually making connections less. Okay, less. And that brings me to let me see here. I'm gonna go straight to this because and I know that most of y'all in the chat are probably married, but I found this very interesting. Okay, um, come on now, do something. There we go. All right. So this, I'm trying to see what the date of this article is. August 30th of 24. Okay, people are desperate for human connections. And this is talking about Seattle. But from what I hear from people all over the place, I don't think it's just Seattle. Um, is Seattle shifting away from online relationships? Okay. And obviously, this is probably younger people. Um, and they talk a little bit about it says in a 2024 Forbes health survey of Americans found that 78% of respondents felt emotionally and physically exhausted from using dating apps. I mean,
I can
I'm
probably attest to that. I go through these cycles where I'm like, well, I haven't met anybody in a while. Who's out there? And then every person I see, I'm like, oh, I gotta move. I have to just go to a different place. This is
yeah,
terrible.
it really is. Um, okay, so they were talking about the stats during and after the pandemic, which, by the way, people after being isolated at home and stuff, it was a whole thing. If you'll remember, all of a sudden, in just like a few months' time or a year's time, whatever, however long they were isolated, um, they actually forgot. And some of this article talks about that. They forgot how to socially interact with people. So when, people started going out and clubs, whatever, started opening, people were sitting there by themselves, like not knowing how to talk to another human in just that short space, which to me was crazy. I mean,
It's a practiced skill. It's like playing the guitar or something like that, or in my case, the drums. I know that in the last couple of years, I've only been able to play like once a week for a little bit, and now I'm significantly worse than I was at my peak. I'll say that much. And I think that interacting with people socially, it just, like I was talking about earlier, there's so much to it, and that you don't really think about all of that until you've spent a lot of time alone, kind of against your will or whatever, and
yeah.
then you're face to face with people again, and you're like you're like, how do I talk about, or how do I want to dance, but I don't you know what? I think I'm just gonna go home. This is too much.
Yeah.
I'm gonna join a book club or something.
I mean, I don't I didn't feel that way at all. It didn't really affect me, but I mean, I don't know.
I think to some degree you socialize with yourself, so you don't
Yeah, there
deteriorate
you
very
go.
quickly.
So, I mean, I'm always socializing with myself, and that's the problem with, you know, being first, an empathetic and an INFJ. I'm always inside my own head. So, I can be riding down the road, like driving somewhere for a couple of hours and realize that the radio's not on, like nothing's on, because I've been so much in my head. So, I do. Maybe it's weird. Like I sing to myself, I dance for myself. It's all up
Well,
in here.
like a
Bust a
peacock,
move.
like a mating call thing, like you dance to like
No,
seduce yourself or something like that,
no,
or
no, no. That's disgusting.
I'm
No.
just I don't know where the lines. I don't know.
I
Dance to
mean,
yourself.
it's like sometimes a song goes through my head. I don't hear it. It's just like it comes into my head and it just stays. And you're around the house and it's not actually playing, but you hear it in your head. I do. And it's like, you bust a move and then, you realize if somebody's looking in the window, they think I am completely off my rocker. But it's like I'm dancing to the music in my head. Leave me alone.
I think if somebody's looking through your window, you have a lot more things to worry about than whether they think you're sane or not. Personally, but
Probably. But
anyway,
anyway, this article is talking about how it's actually talking about some sites I've never heard of. I haven't online dated in years. Um, but lovely dating, and there's something else in here. It's where it's kind of like a video app, and it goes more into the personal because, you know, talking about the lack of interaction, okay, and how it affects people. And I'm sure y'all have had this happen on a dating app, is where you talk to somebody, like you're texting somebody and like you're just really vibing, like it's good, they're funny, they're, I don't know, intuitive, they're smart, whatever. And you're talking and then you decide finally after a while, hey, let's meet up for coffee or dinner or lunch, whatever. And then you meet them in person and they are so dull. Like there's like, who is this person I've been talking to?
I
Like,
actually have had exactly that experience, which is it's crazy. I didn't know if that happened that often, but that was I won't say her name, but that's exactly. I mean, she had so much to say. She was so vibrant. She was so full of life, and I met her in person, and she was so um timid and like I dated her for months, and getting her to speak at all was nearly impossible. It's like she had been raised by monks or something. Like she had taken a vow of silence. So but I will say, there was never any issue with it's like, where do you want to eat? She'd just look at me and she'd shrug, and I'd be like, all right, Arby's it is again. I win. So
Colton, have you ever experienced something like that?
Um, not particularly exactly like that. Um, what exactly was the question?
you ever meet somebody who behaves one way, and then you meet them and it's just a lot different? You ever meet someone who like seems very sane and put together and all this? You meet them in person and you're like, how are you alive? How did you even make it to this meeting?
Yes.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, plenty of times actually.
Yeah. I've talked to people that when I met them IRL, I really was concerned for their well-being and safety. I was like, how did
Yeah.
you put on pants without breaking your ankles? This is crazy.
Exactly.
How does a
Exactly.
person live like that? Yeah, but
And then there are some, even in real life, IRL, as you said, there are some times that you don't even have to go through that. But, um, like I was working, this has been, oh my gosh, probably 6 or 7 years ago at least. I was working at a nurse in a chicken plant. And, people would come in for Tylenol, whatever. And so this guy, there was a lot of people, of course. I didn't know not even half of them. And this guy comes in and he looked like he was about my age. I mean, absolutely beautiful. Guy had like this thick white hair and dark skin and emerald green eyes, like so green. And I was like, man, this guy is very unusual. His coloring is very unusual.
Sounds
And
like
I'm
you're
thinking,
describing an anime character to me right now.
it kind of does. Like, I was looking at him thinking, I don't know that I've ever seen this combination before. And so I'm looking at him thinking, oh, you are one pretty guy. And I'm keeping it professional and all this kind of stuff. And so I could tell when he didn't say much when he walked in. I said, did you need some Tylenol or something? He's like, mm-hmm. And so I'm like, good. So I start to ask him a question. I see he doesn't have a wedding band on. I'm like, huh, you know. And I asked him a question to get a conversation started. He opens his mouth and says, well, I don't leave the and I was like, oh my God, there is no way. No way.
Yeah,
I'm
the
looking at
amount of
him and I'm thinking, leave. Just leave. Shut your mouth. Look pretty and leave.
the amount of times I've witnessed almost that exact same thing happen is crazy, man. You'll see somebody who looks super mysterious and and then they open their mouth and you're like, whoa. You stay over there, man. You
Yeah.
ruined my whole day with that. I thought you were magical, but you put all your stat points in appearance, and there was nothing in. Oh
Yeah.
boy, yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. So, I mean, oh my gosh, let me say hello to some people. Want to be sleuthing something? Hello. Steffa, what's up? Yes, Carol, the illusion was shattered. I had a
Oh,
date with Farmer Fran from the water bottle. No.
man,
That's
isn't
about
that?
that's what it was like though. And I'm like, "Oh my god, I can't. I can't. Like I can't even stand to hear him talk just a couple of sentences. I just wanted to say leave, please.
Doesn't that
Just
speak so much
stop."
on about? Because I think the reality was that it was possible for him to be that way or any other way, but man, I think that's the dangerous thing is I see people from a distance and based off of like how they look, I will assume about what kind of person they are, and I've been like mildly brokenhearted and mildly annoyed that they're not at all that person. I'm like,
Mhm.
why am I upset? Like I made something up and then got mad that it was a lie. Like what? You know what I mean?
Do you think that's
But
what we do in connection? I mean, so yeah, that happens a lot on dating sites. People a lot of people don't look at all like their profile pictures are, and then certainly they don't act the same or even seem to have the same level of intelligence. But I
yeah,
mean,
sometimes I'm like, was your dad doing your homework for you? Was he texting me last night? Where's he at? He was saying some really, to be honest, I think
yeah.
I think I might be into your dad. Come on, bring him out. Bring him out. Here, you go back home.
Yeah. I mean, but do you think that actually keeps us from connection? I mean, to be honest with you, even though this guy's accent, even though I'm from the South and I have a heavy accent, like you can understand what I'm saying for the most part. I had no idea. Um, do you think that I guess these kind of things keep us from connecting? Because honestly, the guy seemed very nice. I mean, he was polite, I think. I'm not exactly sure what he said, but I can't hear you.
My
What?
bad.
Oh.
I was gonna say, based off of his unintelligible rambling, he seemed like a decent person. I mean, I have no idea, but at least that almost sounds like you're imagining it again. You're like, well, I mean, he didn't sound like he wasn't like a suave, silver tongued devil, but he's still probably nice.
Well, I mean, he didn't give me any bad vibes. He was seemed to be nice and pleasant. I mean,
Something about man looking up down up the road down there. There's something on you fired, man.
yeah,
They got cops out there and
right,
stuff
right,
like
right.
that.
And yes, that's exactly what he's saying. And I was saying, and I was like, okay, have a good day, sir.
Dude,
Bye.
let me tell you, this is an anecdote. This is anecdotal and not related at all. But my buddy, his dad talks exactly like that, like crazy, crazy, crazy. Cannot understand. And my friend will talk to his dad, and he'll say some stuff I can't even begin to piece it together. And my friend will be like, "Yeah, no, we can't do that because of." I'm like, "How do you even understand that language? That's not English."
Yeah, but but there you go. Um, are we too picky when it comes to connection, or should we be picky? Or I'm not talking about the chomos and the people that give you the ick. Sometimes
Bro,
somebody will introduce somebody and say, "Oh, this is a great guy," and you're in their presence 5 minutes and you feel the ick on you, and you're like,
okay,
yeah,
so there's a
whatever.
couple things I'd like to point. First of all, I hate the word chomos. That just sounds so weird. I like the word maps better because it's like what and then gross. But also the whole thing with the ick. First of all, dude, I hate that sentiment so much because I'm a walking ick factory. Half of the time on purpose, and half of the time it's just surplus. But that's the thing is like, especially like I was talking about, my buddy and his dad, like I bet if you got to know that guy, or you spend enough time around him, you'd probably understand it pretty well. And I think that's how a lot of people are, man. Like I think that's at the end of the day with like, what non-platonic, what's the word for that? Romantic relationships. That's a big part of it is that you can fall in love with somebody because they're great at pretending for even years. And then what,
Yeah,
And then you're boned because this guy was soulless and he pretended the whole thing, and now you're trapped in there with him and he knows it or
yeah,
something.
yeah,
But that's why I try to get. I think that there's a lot to be lost in digital communication as far as who is this person and actually getting to know who they are and stuff like that. Um, I don't know. I think that it's hard to talk about like how to do it and the whole thing because we don't care. We don't care. It's like this is what you look like and this is what you're about, and then that's it. It's like that's like a Twitter post. That's not a person's complexity and stuff. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
uh,
And I think I don't know what are your thoughts, Colton?
Hmm. Find it interesting. I think everybody's kind of like a propagandist in their own way, and so a lot of people have like a lot of natural biases, like based on their experiences, and like so there's a lot of people who don't like other people. That's why they form these echo chambers of people that agree with them or that are just interested in the same ideas. Like um, so I mean, and obviously, like another thing is there's only so much time in a day, so you can't like there's not time to be friends with everyone, so you have to pick and choose. Like, say everyone was a somewhat reasonable candidate, of friendship, you would still have to pick and choose just based off of like, and then another thing is like with how society is set up, like people are so exhausted from work and the stress of just trying to make ends meet that um all that exhaustion like undermines the social bonds and any meaningful engagement with other people.
dude,
Yeah,
I agree. That makes me wonder. Maybe it's that I'm anarchist, not like specifically about the government, but like anti-authoritarian or anti-tradition and stuff. I really think that the entire way that we as people view society around us needs to be changed inherently because all
I
those things that
agree.
you just said are very true. And I think maybe when there were I guess when things were slower, you could develop friendships that were meaningful by accident because you by nature of communication you had to spend longer getting to know that person. If you had a pen pal, you wouldn't be like, hey, what's up, and then send it and then wait for a week to get their response and be like, not much, how about you, you know what I mean? But you know if people could just like be comfortable enough with themselves to just I just don't understand the facade. Like we all have like a mask, like a facade, and like I just don't get it. Outside of like a corporate entity, or whatever, like a professional environment, it's like we have 3 levels. We have like corporate or work, and then we have like social, everything else, and then there's like us in private. And a lot of times people don't even know that about themselves. They just like really connect to society and their standards and all that stuff, and that becomes their identity, you know. But why do we have that intermediate layer? Like, why do we have that step between like corporate professionalism, and is it just so that, like, you know, when corporations start to delve into your social life, like, I saw you on Facebook, and there are a lot of gay people that work for my company, and I don't appreciate what you said about them, so I'm gonna have to let you go. You know, is it that kind of thing, or like, what's the deal? You know, how do we overcome that? How do we change that? How do we be comfortable just being who we are to people and not being like so guarded? Like, what, like socially, what's the point of being guarded? Like, I understand, like physically, like if you're afraid of being assaulted or assailed in some way, but like people just are so guarded against like strangers.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, think about, you go to a job interview, you know, and they ask you like, what do you like to do outside of work? And the best answer is more work, or like help the homeless or something.
Yeah.
You know? It's like,
Yeah.
they don't want you to have a life and have goals.
My hobbies are working for this family, working for this company off the clock. Yeah. One of my weaknesses, I work too hard. I'm a giver. What can I say?
Exactly. What are your weaknesses? Like, you're going to be honest. Well, when I'm not at work, I like to eat and lay on the couch as much as possible.
Yeah, there's never going to be. That's the thing. Is like, what do you do? What do you like to do outside of work? Well, me, I like to take an orange and get in the shower and just mash it into my face and let the juices run down and then immediately be clean. It's called a shower orange. You should check. I tried it with a watermelon once, but it's harder because there's not, depending on the size of the shower. You know, like whoa. I meant like hobbies. Do you like play golf or something? I mean,
yeah.
Oh,
I mean, you know, like, what do you say? Yeah, because you can't. Yeah, it's a slippery slope. And me having had 2 job interviews in the last 2 days.
Did you tell them about the shower orange or no?
I did not. I did not.
That was a cultural phenomenon, by the way. It's not just something I made up. For years, there was a subreddit and there were posts. Anyway, never mind. Have you tried it? Have you tried to eat like a really juicy fruit, like a peach or something that normally gets everywhere in the shower?
No,
Sorry, I'm kind of
well,
on
actually, I have eaten a peach in the shower because it was so messy.
I feel like it'd be too watered down. It wouldn't.
Well, you don't
put it under the water.
Well, no, all right. Well, my shower is small, so there's nowhere you're holding the peach it's not getting wet.
Yeah, you have the water on your head, and you have the peach out here. Then you turn around and let the water fall all over you.
You could have it hit you in the back and then eat it and then turn around and wash it off. That's crazy. It's like, yeah, it was just all. It was like it was so watered down. Like you were just like, all right, just like standing. It's just. I can't. It's hard to visualize. That's it, but the imagery was hilarious to me.
Yeah, you know what? If you've learned nothing else tonight from this edition of Humanetics, you know how to eat a peach or an orange in the shower. So there you go.
And if you haven't done it, by the way, if there's like a juicy food that you like, or every time you eat it, it's like, dude, I bet eating barbecue, I bet eating baby back ribs in the shower is divine because you know. Depending on the location of the shower head, of course, you don't want the shower. And if you keep the shower clean, I think that's kind of like goes without saying, you know, you don't want to be in a grimy, never clean it out, you know, all that. But considering like if it's clean and you've got, you know, you could just take it off the bone and just scrape it all off and get it all over your face and all this. And then just like dunk your head into the stream and, you know.
Can you imagine DoorDash comes up, you run to the front door, and then you tell your family, I'm going to be in the shower for a while. And they'll be like, what? I don't even want to know.
That's pretty funny. I'm going to be in the shower. Do not bother me. Do not knock on the door and ignore any sounds you hear coming from the bathroom. This will take about 45 minutes.
For some reason, I feel like your family wouldn't be too surprised.
Probably not. I mean, but there, you see, this is why I'm single.
That's it. That's the only reason.
Should I open it? Should I start a dating profile on, I don't know, whatever? Likes to eat peaches and ribs in the shower. I mean, hobbies. Eating ribs in the shower. That's
Honestly, anything that isn't breaded would probably fit. Would probably be edible in the shower. I don't know.
um
I'll put some scientific tests and come
I
back with
don't
a.
I don't know,
Anyway,
but but you did seriously bring up a good point. When you go for a job interview, they do. They ask you questions that you don't want to answer. Like, how do you answer this? What are your weaknesses? Because if that weakness is not actually a strength at the end of the day, you're not getting the job.
my weakness is honesty, and I think that you should not be doing your job. You're bad at it. I think I should have your job. You want me to hire you? I think you should. I really do.
Yeah. I mean, but there you go. So, I mean, okay, let me go back to I'm going to go back to this article, okay? Oh wait, no, let me switch back to the one. Are you saying the one about their health risks?
Yeah.
Cuz I don't want to do this without giving people something. Um so here's what they're saying you should do to combat social isolation. Self care. Well, I care for myself a good bit. So, I mean, there's even a song, Get Flowers. Listen to music or listen to the music in your head. Stimulate your brain. All these things, which I don't know if people so much don't self care. I think when you're lonely, that's all you can do. Reconnect. Reach out to just one person. Okay. Is that homework? Should that be homework for everybody? Reach out to just one person, an old friend, coworker, family member, or small group. How doable is that, do y'all think?
Uh, it really depends on the area that you live in, I think. And I think that's another problem that is like that's another reason that people, reach out through like digital mediums most of the time
Yeah.
because if you live in a rural area, the only social event is a church on Sunday and the cattle auction that happens Friday night. And then there's like one bar in the town, but the only people that go there are like, they all
Yeah.
have yellow white hair and they live at the bar or whatever.
And they all talk like this, and then they can't understand on one of the saying.
So
Yeah.
where did people gather before social media? If it
I
wasn't
reckon
the
church
or
on
the
Sunday was the same thing. Well, the Aztecs used to have these ceremonies, but they were a little bit different, where they would take the beating heart of a man. But it seemed the city got involved really, really strong. So I mean, I don't know. It's like is religion always been like a big like community socially led?
Yes, yes. For a long time, that was really the only for rural people. Literally for hundreds, maybe thousands of years, that was a huge social event. Social.
Maybe that's why the state, which I mean, this isn't unrelated, and I don't wish to continue on this topic, but maybe that's why the church is in the state that it's in. Because I think, dude, I really think what's interesting is that the only reason that these community whatever is possible is because there's a sense of purpose behind it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
There are communities for like I don't know, gaming and stuff like that, but like a cult isn't a cult until everyone feels like they have a purpose being there. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think that's why. And I think that's how. So, like, how do you create that outside of the context of religion? And unless you are a super oppressed, minority, or you're, in these very niche groups, like I don't know, abuse prevention or something. Like something that you relate to personally. How do you just get to know people? How do you have a purpose? What is purpose? Where do you even get purpose?
Yeah, it's not like you can order it from Costco. Um,
As lovely as that would be.
yes, it would. Wannabe Sleuth and something says, yes, my daughter and I are atheists and we want to go to church, but it feels wrong to go without believing. I would say, be choosy about the church that you go to, I guess, but I would go anyway. Just
Oh,
go.
for sure. I mean, that's the thing is like the onus is not on you to believe in God and then bring that to offer the church or something like that. Honestly, it should be that they, it should just be a place where you can go and feel comfortable and to get and connected with people. And that if, God is real outside of that,
See,
that
the problem I have is with the with the church being the only gathering place for people in the real world is that's what it becomes. It becomes a social network. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And people don't go there. You know what I mean? To learn anything or to worship or whatever. You know, like they don't go there for the reasons they should. It's they go there because they look good and they want everybody to
Yep.
see that they're there. They don't want people to talk about them not being there this Sunday, and but whatever, you know.
Yep.
Um,
That's true.
and all right, I'll add this, and you guys may or may not agree, but this is kind of going on a point I had talked about earlier with just kind of how society is set up. Like, I mean, there actually are a lot of communities on the internet of like self help or just or anything any kind of interest, even if it's philosophy or theology or like there are a lot of communities where you can get with people and discuss ideas or some self-help communities where people like talk about things and whatever, you know, that are more like human connection oriented. And so I think a big problem is that social media platforms are built on a model that prioritizes profit over human well-being, and all the algorithms are designed to maximize the engagement and keep people on the platform as long as possible.
Mhm.
You know, they're not meant for human connections or any kind of meaningful connections, and it creates an environment where superficial interactions and sensationalism thrives. And but social media wouldn't have to be alienating if it was built on a platform that wasn't built just to maximize profits. You know, like um, if there was a you know like a social media platform that was nonprofit, you know.
Do you think then that the issue isn't so much that people aren't meeting face to face, but that it's just the nature of the design of the platforms being to
I think
again
yeah, I think
increase
that's a big
engagement?
part of it. Yeah,
Well, how do you feel about like Discord, for example?
Discord is actually one of the places I was referring to as far as like these communities. Discord, I think, is the most like human like interaction people get on the internet, and that's my opinion. But that could just be a part of the communities that I'm in. And I used to stream gaming a lot, and I uh, built a decently sizable community as well, and so I had a lot of like real interaction with these people because that's just the kind of streamer I was. You know, I never tried to be famous or anything, but um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it just there are places on the internet, but they're definitely not. Yeah, I mean they're not easy to find a lot of the times, you know, because that's not how the platforms work.
No, because my Discord, all I've ever seen is people argue and fight and talk smack in
That is
most
also considered
Discords.
community, just not particularly healthy community.
Yeah, I don't even use my Discord anymore. I've got it there so people can connect to me and have a phone call, whatever.
There's a really good community called Healthy Gamer GG whatever. It's just a bunch of people in there talking about all kinds of stuff. And it's actually a pretty good community.
I know that feller. He's a YouTuber,
But
primarily, I believe.
let me ask you though. Okay, and now let me say I have had some very good conversations on Discord. Usually they're one-on-one conversations, but and it's a great place to connect for business purposes in my opinion. It's great. But it still lacks the human, like I said, when this stream ends and I turn off the lights and I go and I sit down on the couch, I am acutely aware that I am by myself. Now, am I unhappy? No. But could I be happier? Absolutely. And for people who don't live inside their head like I do, they feel, as soon as that last text or that last Discord message comes through or that last social media interaction, you are by yourself. So does the contrast, I'm asking y'all and y'all in chat, does the contrast of that make you feel more or less lonely?
It depends on the person and where they're at. I think is on the social scale, you could say, because for a lot of people, if they're not extremely social in real life, conversations online are a lot more manageable. They're not necessarily healthier, but when someone pisses you off, you can leave the call or block them or whatever. You know, like
Yeah.
if
Yeah,
it's your toxic boss, you have to go there because you want to be able to pay your bills this month, and you have to deal with him. You know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah.
online. Like their relationships are easier to manage.
that's true. That is very true. I think that's one of the biggest appeals is the ease of management and being able to temper your own emotions and your own reactions and to all of this. I think people find it harder to just walk away if they're face to face with somebody and the conflict rises up. It's like it's not
Yeah.
really a good way to do that. Just what do you just
Right.
turn around and then start they just start walking away. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, but
Mute and you walk off.
And these
yeah,
interactions and these angry interactions people have with each other are obviously non-violent on the internet. Like you don't just punch somebody in the face or shoot
yeah.
Yeah.
them or slash their tire.
But I think that's another thing that makes communication a little bit less genuine as well, because you can honestly just say and do whatever you want, and I think that the thing is that like you know over a lifetime of communicating with people and learning things that do's and don'ts and things that people are sensitive to and all that, like it's just another part of developing your social compass, I guess you could say, that allows you to be able to develop more friendships and at a more rapid pace for genuine relationships. And I don't know. I think that while those things are definitely helpful, I think that the crash course of intensity for face to face relationships or necessary, unavoidable relationships is a skill that allows you to almost endlessly connect with people and be able to create communities of your own. But
Yeah. But if you are primarily connecting with people online, and it is very easy uh, to be in a Discord conversation that you want to see your way out of, and then you can say, "Oh, hey, sorry, got a call. Somebody came to the door." Whatever. There's always you don't know when somebody disconnects from you on social media if something is physically going on around them. So the more time that we spend online, I think, like Daniel said, I think it actually lessens our ability to have conflict resolution, because how do you do that in real life? Like you said, you can't just, you can't just turn them off and walk away. Put down the
exactly.
conversation, can't hit the mute button. Although it makes me it really does make me wonder what would happen next time I am in a conversation if I just looked at somebody and said, "Mute, mute," and just walk
Um,
away.
I'll tell you
What
this.
will they
That
do?
doesn't work. That doesn't work. But what will work is if someone is talking to you and you just like you look at them in the eye and without saying anything, you just reach out and boop, boop them on the nose. Their brain will momentarily shut down, and if you're prepared, you can actually grab a hold of the conversation and wrangle it into a new direction. But it's an advanced technical maneuver. You need a little bit of practice. But yeah, it does seem that me and Daniel are almost essentially on the same page. That I think that these mediums and platforms, they allow you tools that you don't have in person, but that they also prevent you from developing your own tools to navigate relationships, and that makes it difficult, especially if you find yourself in a realistic relationship later, because you're kind of cut raw and open and vulnerable, and sometimes you'll like literally freak out because you don't have a way out, and you like your fight or flight response kicks in, and you
Yeah.
can say some just unhinged, not just you can go crazy, and you could like be vulnerable and like physically attack somebody because you're
Okay.
stressed.
Now, let me say, I read this. This is not an original idea. I read this and I have actually never tried it, but I feel like that sometime in the future there will be an occasion that I will do this. They say when you're in a conversation that is like going badly, or you can see it escalating, you need to get out of there, it needs to end, whatever. Maybe you're just bored, I don't know. When you're trying to get rid of a conversation, you pull off one of your shoes and hand it to them. And I can guarantee you that is going to stop I don't care who you are. That's going to stop the conversation as it is, because they're going to have to either just stop and look at you or say, "What's going on? Why are you handing me your shoe?" Okay, topic changed. I mean, it's pretty ingenious. I know it sounds wackadoodle.
Yeah, I mean, so but there's a whole lot of psychological things you can do with handing people something. You can start a conversation, but I wanted to mention this because Daniel said, which Daniel, I've really enjoyed his presence in the chat tonight. It's like people saying good vibes only. It's unrealistic. That's not to say don't be a positive person, but it's trying to insulate oneself from the fact that sometimes life is screwed up.
Yes.
And that's true. And you can't always hide from those things. And it's dangerous and damaging for you and the people around you to do those things. Whether
Unless
it be,
you hand them a shoe.
I mean, even if you're like, you may bottle things up and then explode one day, or you may begin to develop tendencies that are, hurtful. You may be really insecure, and as a result, start to subconsciously pick and tear down other people around you. That's very common.
And throw your shoe at them instead of handing it.
I feel like you're reading a different set of notes than I don't know. But,
No, I mean, but you know what I'm saying. I mean, yeah, you're talking about the escalation of violence. I'm like, yeah, I'm
not
saying
even
hand them a shoe.
not really.
But,
No, I'm just saying that I'm just saying that constantly avoiding negative experiences in terms of conversational, dialogue or whatever, face to face, doing that consistently will cause you to develop bad habits that aren't even necessarily related to conversation. They'll make you insecure. They'll make you think of yourself differently. They'll make you xenophobic towards other groups of people who appear to have negative issues and stuff like that. What Daniel said is simply, people say, good vibes only and all this, and it's unrealistic, but it's also very, it's also bad for you to live that way, because you can be good vibes only, but life is going to suck and you're going to experience it, and that shit's going to come out in some way or another. And if you're not like healthily dealing with it, then it's gonna bite you. And
that's true. I mean, but then you're also in that place, and it depends on the circumstances. When do you mouth vomit, word vomit on somebody, and when do you just hold it in? If you, in the effort to connect and maintain a connection, because it's easy to break a connection like really fast. It's not easy to maintain a connection, and the way I've always said, the way people fight in a relationship tells me whether they're going to make it or not.
how do you please expand on that? But also real quick, apparently this has been tried and it does not have 100%. Does not have 100% success rate, but I guess it's more about law of averages. It's more likely to work than it is to not work. But maybe the shoe thing is but the thing is I'm a little, when I'm out and about, my feet get a little bit sweaty, and so I'm afraid to hand someone my sweaty shoe, because then that
No, it's definitely a new conversation.
I'm a little sensitive, and I don't want to be like, hey, you know what? I don't like this direction that the conversation's taking. Smell my stinky ass feet instead. And they're like, whoa. How about, you know what? I don't think this is going to work out between the two of us. I think you need to go home or whatever. But so you said a second ago, you said something that I found very interesting. The way people fight, you can see whether or not two people are going to work out. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Based off of the way they fight. Please explain that.
Okay. Every relationship, and I would maintain that a good relationship has conflict, like sometimes major conflict, because, for example, this has been a long time ago, but I knew this couple at church, and a situation came up, and they actually were fighting about something that happened, and they told us there was a group of us regarding an incident, and they said, we've been married something like 19 years, and we have never had a fight. And I'm thinking this, and she's like, the wife says, we were actually fighting. We fought about this all, evening. And I'm thinking, all these years, you haven't fought. There is a lot wrong with your relationship.
If you
And No. Listen, yeah, because, and I'm telling you, within a year of that incident, they were divorced.
Yeah, because if you've gone 19 years without having a fight with your significant other, then one of you is in control and the other one is hiding everything that they think constantly. There is
Mm-hmm.
no world where two people cannot. And that's the thing that's so annoying to me about like new relationships. You know, that's like a gold standard. Oh, we've never fought. It's so beautiful. It's like, no, dude, that's terrifying. You've never
Mm-hmm.
fought. Then you don't even know who you're dating. You're dating a
Right.
pretend figure. Like I
Exactly.
think if you fight with someone within like the first 30 minutes of talking to them, that has a lot of potential
I don't
because
know about that, but
because if you because if you I don't know, I guess it depends on what the fight is about, but I think that like being able to I think having the chemistry to resolve issues is much more beautiful than the
yes.
supposed chemistry of just we're so perfect together we don't ever disagree. No, you're delusional and
Yeah.
you should break up or
And
you're going to get
somebody's
hurt.
right, nobody's being honest. No, I think
Yeah.
the way that, when I say the way people fight determines, okay, when you are, obviously you're angry, okay, and maybe it's a stupid situation or maybe it's not, maybe it's a big thing, but certain things like bringing up past events that are resolved. If you're bringing up something from the past, it's not resolved. So
Yep.
you never should have put a band aid on it. You should have thought about it until it was resolved. Name calling, and I don't mean like, saying, if you think blah, 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 you are a blooming idiot. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about very derogatory personal character attacks on that person. I'm talking about, I knew one couple that they would fight and she would literally not talk to him, not speak at all for like a week at least, sometimes longer than that. And I'm like, okay, I understand. I need a few minutes or I need an hour for you to be silent because I'm angry. Let me calm down. But fighting like that is not, it's insane. It's like, how old are you? And if you can't talk and, you know, and each person can express, this is how you hurt me, this is how I took it, then that gives the other person the chance to say, well, that's not the way I meant it, you know,
Yeah.
or it is the way I meant it. And, you need to change this, whatever. If you have where one person shuts down or blows up or demands that the other person fold, like you can have people that have really different beliefs about a subject and they still agree to respect the other person's opinion and say, well, let's agree to disagree. I, I cannot see myself ever cheering for the Tennessee Vols. But if you are a Vols fan and I really love you, then I'm going to say I'm not going to wear orange, but I'm also not going to say much about the Vols and I'll sit there and watch a game with you.
I,
You
I
know what
don't.
I'm saying?
I mean, I guess like
This is the South.
metaphorically,
This is the South. I mean, football is everything in Alabama. So,
I can't imagine that the performance of a college football team is going to be a significant factor in our marriage from here on out,
look,
sweetheart. I just
it's
wanted
a
you to
big
know
deal. It is a big
that
deal.
I want you to know if the Vols don't win, I am going to start abusing you, and I'm just laying that out. I'm not going to be able to contain myself, and if we have children, I'll just split it equally between all of you. That's crazy. No, I don't know about that, but yeah, I think that's the thing, man. Is that I just you see so much like oh dude loses his lid or he like freaks out and all this stuff. That's good. I think people have a tendency to completely lose their shit because they don't ever shit in tiny increments. Like they don't ever just squeeze a little bit out or talk about it in a little bit. Little segments that they just hold it in and they pretend because other people, if it's too early in a relationship or friendship or whatever, they will just cast you out entirely if you cause problems for them,
Yeah.
if you are negative, or if you
Yeah.
and that's bizarre to me because I don't know. I just think
It is to me too.
now if the person is like just a walking issue, yeah, so they need somebody to talk to or they need to see like a professional, to vent. But yeah, I don't know.
Well, I mean, another factor when you're fighting, and that's not even what I started, we're talking about, but it does have to do with human connection, is if you have to be right, if it's more important for you to be right and win the argument than the feelings and the soul of the person that you're fighting with, you're not going to make it because it's about you. The goal for two people who love each other should be, let's find a common ground, let's find where we agree, not where we disagree. Let's bend and blend. It's not my ego
We're
when
practically
it
having a class now, on do's and don'ts, and really, and maybe that's the thing, or maybe one day we can just list them all out and be like, all right, so this is how you. But I mean, I don't know, I guess I'm just wondering, which I wanted to take a few notes, I took earlier, humans. It's been proven that all humans, desire connection. The
Mhm.
one thing that keeps them from that is shame. Um, and so I was thinking about, like, why are we so afraid? I think I asked a question earlier that we didn't really talk about. We are emotionally social in three different layers: at a corporate level, at like average societal, me and you, and we're in public level, and then like me at home, and I'm married. This is my husband or wife or whatever.
Mhm.
Um, but why do we have this? I mean, like, I understand, like, I mean, I don't even understand a whole lot of the secrecy. Like, who cares if a stranger sees you being weird? They're like, okay, not my person, but like, why is everyone so and people are so like reserved and defensive and distant from strangers that they meet in public, not at like at work. Yeah, there's definitely a place for that, but like, why do we have this middle segment? Um,
Mhm.
people. I feel like people would just be able to get to know each other, and what kind of I was talking about earlier. I think that the way that we perceive and the society and cultures and relationships, the way that we naturally do everything should be upended and redone, because what we're doing right now just doesn't work. Um, if you could say, like, it's a corporate professional level or whatever, and then there's like that church areas, like, a facade and all this. What I just don't understand why this facade exists and why it needs to exist, and why people will literally die to preserve this fake exterior. Like, what's the? I mean, am I just like autistic kind of thing? It's like I just don't get it, or like, because like I understand to a degree, like, reading the room, not giving too much, not trauma dumping, not giving somebody too much to deal with or work with or
Right.
whatever. But like, I'm not about to be like, man, it's getting hot out there, ain't it? Like, dude, I don't.
Right.
I just want to live in a world where I can be like, you know, um, I don't know. The Like, for example, asking somebody what their hobbies are. It might be like the fifth or sixth question that you ask them. Why can't that be the first one? Hey, what do you like? Like, I just don't know. I would love to
Yeah.
have that kind of world where I could just walk around and getting to know somebody, at least on a surface level, a lot quicker, because this exterior protects the surface level of getting to know somebody. So I don't know. It's difficult.
It is. I mean, I think because society teaches us that middle level.
And that's the allure of online communities, is that in person we have a thick facade that the surface level is what I like and things I do.
Mhm.
And digital, outlets, they subvert all this by saying, well, if you like, golf, if you like tennis, if you believe in the Aryan race or whatever, this is where you go, and that's where you can, meet with people who also think about that way, and then some of it's locational too. If you're in the South, you like football or something like that, or you're more north, you live in the mountains, you like skiing or whatever. You more likely to talk to people around you about stuff like that. But I just don't know, man. I think that people should be generally more open to each other, and I think that that would make everyone's relationships with themselves better as well. But
It would, but I mean, getting there, I don't know. I'm just gonna say I don't see it happening. I see this is kind of the more AI. And this is another article that I didn't even show, but we've talked about this before. But the more things, and this is especially for Gen Z, the more AI, the more fake, the more social media, the more they are starting to look for authentic, because they really don't even know what it is. I mean, we present ourselves. Instagram. I mean, think about all of the fake Photoshop models and people selling you. Like, you're
We're
not
basically at a point where we've been trying to be AI for 10 years, to be like visually
right.
perfect and complete. And then now there's someone that it's doing it better than us. There's someone out there doing us better than us. And now we're like, well, shit, here's my mortgage and here's the bad interest rate I got locked into. You want to see that? Here's the statement. It's 27% on my credit card. That's crazy, isn't that? That's something more realistic, I guess. I don't know. As hopefully somewhere we can start heading. I think that would be probably the only benefit of AI for people in general, outside of like work and stuff.
It's like, yeah, the real. I mean, but we're not comfortable. Like, this is kind of different, but I remember the last year or two as I'm getting older and I look in the mirror and I'm like, ugh, things just aren't where they should be. Even face, wrinkles, whatever you see popping up. And I would be fussing about it and my daughter would be standing beside me. We have a big double, bathroom thing, and she would be, "Oh, mom, you're beautiful. Just, age gracefully, like embrace it. You are who you are." And okay, and I'm like, "Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see." Like I'm fighting this every step of the way. I just want you to know that. And so just yesterday, and she's just a baby still. I mean, she's an adult, but she's just a brand new one. And she's already talking about her skin and these, aging and all this stuff and looking older than she is. And I'm like, are you kidding me? You're the one that was just telling me last year, embrace aging.
Sounds
It's
like a Twitter
different.
user.
But
Sounds
I
like
mean, but
I
because
mean,
we're encouraged not to be ourselves, like all these years, they're saying, okay, you're not good enough the way you are, so let's make you look different, let's change this, let's change that, and make you perfect. And it's like, when do we stop and say, you
do
know what,
people
people are
think
beautiful?
do people think that they reach some sort of like absolute perfection of physicality on the exterior, or like they can that they reach nirvana, right? That like their life is set up and that they're visually stunning and that they're like they're able to hold a 5-minute conversation flawlessly, and that somehow all this stuff you're like in complete bliss, or like what?
no.
Because the makeup industry is one of the largest in the whole world. There's a reason that people are so superficial. But what's the end goal? Is it just to avoid reality, or like what's the deal? That's all.
Well, they they typically just keep getting more surgeries and buying more cars. They're never happy. You know what I mean? Like that's
No.
human nature. It's
Ugly
greed.
people ain't happy neither, or at least they don't look like it when they smile.
Yeah,
I don't know.
getting a car
I've
doesn't make you happy. That's for sure.
yeah. I mean, they're saying, yeah, money doesn't buy happiness. It doesn't, but it makes it a little bit easier to be lonely or
It
whatever.
provides the means to avoid unhappiness, though. It does,
Yeah, yeah,
and it also gives you more opportunities to cultivate happiness as well. If you want to start
sure.
a new community, based off of like I don't know, helping the homeless. Well, it's a lot easier to do that if you have like half a mil and you could like rent a building and start
Hmm.
a food drive and all this stuff, as opposed to if it was just like I got $20. You reckon they like beans? It's like
Yeah, yeah.
I mean I don't
I
know.
mean, it's degrees, but I mean, we had talked about. So let me know in the chat too what y'all think, because we had been toying with this idea about, okay, satisfaction. What does it mean? And I mean, this is the end of this, episode, but what does it mean to be satisfied, and how can we be satisfied? When are you satisfied? Does somebody tell you? Are we ever satisfied? And those are
Mm.
some of the things that I want to look into, because I think that it hit home for me a couple of weeks ago. I was sitting around thinking, oh, well, if this and that. And I'm like, you know what? It's like I've seen this, and yeah, it's a quote, but I remember when I prayed for the things that I have now, you know? And I remember when with all its flaws, the house that I have now was just a dream. Like, it was not even an attainable dream. Like, I would love to have a house like that one day. I mean, she's got her problems for sure, like major problems. But, I'm like, man, I remember when I prayed for things that I have now. And yet, I go around and I'm like, ugh, this drives me nuts. This doesn't work. That doesn't, this needs fixed. Oh my God. So, are we ever satisfied? I mean, that's the question that I really want to dive into pretty soon.
I, I think next week I would love to talk about that, and I think next week too that topic will be a little bit more structured than tonight, where we just kind of rambled a little bit about because last week we were talking about why are people so lonely, and today we're just kind of talking about like why are people so lonely, but but with a magnifying glass, I think that I would really like to discuss that topic. Like, how do you reach satisfaction? How do you become comfortable with who you are and what you have?
Yeah.
Not how do you see what other people have and not desire it and not alter yourself to become those things? Whether it be a beauty standard, whether it be a wealth standard, whether it be a family standard. If you see someone with a lot of children and a big family, and that's like, and you're now suddenly discontent existing. I think just how do you be comfortable with you and where you are and still have a drive to do better, but not be consumed
Right.
by it?
Right. Because it seems like if people get satisfied, they're just okay. Well, I've arrived. Yeah, and I mean, and there's even a biblical aspect to that. I know everybody is not in that vein in the chat, and that's fine. Um, you know, want to hear everybody's opinion, but I thought about it. It kind of led me to this, the scripture where I think it's Paul that's saying, I've learned to be content, whether I have a lot, whether I have nothing, and in every circumstance, I've learned to be content. And I'm like, well, holy Moses, I haven't, not a bit. I'm like, okay, well, I'm obviously doing this wrong, so. Um, yeah, I think you're right, Carol. A lot of it is going to be simplicity, rules, and minimalism. But I mean, even for our souls, because yeah, once you get to the point of contentment, what do you do? Just sit in your big bowl of contentment?
I think there's a difference between being satisfied and being content, but we'll talk about all that. I think
Yeah,
that'd be fun.
that's where we'll go. Anybody got any last uh other thoughts about, I mean, let me show you real quick. Let's run through, just because I don't want to not say this, other ways to connect, hobbies and interests. And we talked about that last week, joining a hobby or a group of, it doesn't have to be a church group, just whatever kind of group hobby, even if you're just learning the hobby, like meet people. Education, taking a class. Honestly, that is a great way to taking a, even if you're just auditing a class, you'll meet a lot of people, have a lot of thoughts. Um, I think it's great if you have the time to do that. I do not. But take a walk, say hi to a stranger. That doesn't apply in Alabama. We say hi to everybody. Um, Physical
Some of y'all do.
activity. We You don't?
Do I say hey to everyone? No.
I
I'll
do.
nod. I'll nod at folks, but I don't say hi to everybody.
I at least smile if I'm passing somebody on the street or whatever. I'll smile and
I think my problem is that at any given moment during the day, there's weird stuff I'm just thinking too hard about, and that if I open my mouth, that it's going to start spilling out, and that it's not what people are ready or interested in, and so I just I nod and pretend that I'm like just like them or whatever. I'm not saying that I'm like special or anything. I'm just saying that it's hard. I've tried it. I've just been like, hey, communism was weird, huh? And it's like, what? This is a Wendy's. Like, what are you saying? You know, so like I don't want to, it's one of the dangers, I guess.
yeah.
But
I don't know. I do end up talking about all kind of things, but probably not communism. So
it
anyway,
passing fancy. I doesn't, I don't live on it. It's just one of those things. Anyway,
yeah. All right, you got any last thoughts, Colton?
No, thanks for having me. It's been fun.
All right, so that's hopefully we will be going from the Human Edits platform next week, that YouTube channel. And for all of y'all who follows Silky Southern and my other channel, I'm playing a mind trick. I'm releasing the same video on both channels tomorrow. Um, so if you like vintage crime, a little bit, tiny bit of paranormal, vintage crime, crazy story I learned a lot about, look for that coming out tomorrow. I worked, y'all, please, somebody watch it. I have worked so hard on that video. So hard. Um, all right. Again, thank you for being here. I hope something helped. Something, you know? Maybe you just learned how goofy we are. I don't know. And you know now that if I am not enjoying the conversation, I'm going to take my shoe off and hand it to you. So there you go. Maybe you could just put like a shoe emoji in the comments. Here you go. Bye. Yeah. Seriously, y'all have a great night. And I guess we'll see you later. Bye bye. Well, if I can get this to go somewhere.